Grand Theft Auto 4 probably has one of the most sophisticated public transport networks of any GTA game. And since Liberty City is based off of New York City, it has an absolutely immense subway network compared to any other GTA game. And so before getting into the subway, we of course need to find out the thing that can make or break a system no matter how good or bad it is: the operator. The operator public transport in Liberty City is known as LTA, otherwise known as Liberty Transport Authority. They operate multiple forms of transportation, from buses to the Roosevelt Island tramway replica, and of course the subway, which is our focus for today. The headquarters of the operator, LTE, are LTE. The LTA's headquarters are located in downtown Broker. The building is pretty typical and isn't anything special, but it does have subway tracks nearby. Now, compared to other GTA games, this game has quite the detail when it comes to public transport because it is based off New York City after all. And so it has a lot of details such as signage and very advanced fare machines. So let's take a look at them. We can see that the bus shelters have quite a bit of effort put into them, having the signs around light poles and LTA engravement along the windows. The ticket machines have quite a lot of effort put into them as well, and they look very similar to the Metro card dispensers at stations you see in New York City, and it also has a pretty accurate Metro card replica. It even has that corner taken off. How about we take a ride on the subway and I'll show you the cool stuff along the way. First off, we can see that Rockstar actually puts effort into replicating the actual environment. What do I mean by that? Well, currently we're at Frankfort High Station, which happens to be the location of an actual station in New York City. Located on the north side of Algonquin, otherwise known as Manhattan in real life, it connects Algonquin and Bohan. And now, looking at the real-life New York City subway map, you see the 125th Street station, located at around the same exact area in Manhattan, which is the Algonquin counterpart. And okay, yeah, big deal. 2 stations in a similar place in Manhattan. That's pretty common since it's a big city. There are stations everywhere. Well, if we play it back, there's something even more striking and fascinating that shows the amount of effort Rockstar put into recreating the iconic subway system. Remember that we are in North Algonquin, which in real life would be known as Harlem or colloquially North Manhattan. And now it's very interesting that when you look up at the station in the same place in the same district in the real-life city of New York, there's an identical-looking station called Harlem 125th Street, serving the 1 train. Now in GTA games, of course you have a lot of replicas of famous places, but it's very cool to see it extend all the way to a subway system, something you typically don't see as typically the most famous places are replicated. But it's really cool to see that the most impressive subway stations have been brought into the GTA 4 game. While Nico tries to find his way into the vestibule, let's take a look at the map. The train map of GTA 4 is somewhat resemblant to New York, although it does lack the perpendicular crosstown lines of Manhattan. You can see that they did put some effort into recreating the lettered and number systems of New York, although using different shapes. Interestingly as well, they did a pretty good job at recreating Manhattan with the various parallel subway lines going north and south. What confuses me, however, are some of the numbered and letter lines having the same color. The 3 train, for example, is red and square and it goes around Broker, but then in Algonquin it's a J train, which is also red and it's a different or same route. It's all very confusing. The grayed out station is Dukes Boulevard, which is a station closed for maintenance, possibly a comedic reference to how the MTA always does maintenance on some kind of line or station, causing detours. The train also goes out to Francis International Station, the equivalent of JFK, although in real-life New York City, the subway does not go to JFK Station, although there is an air train connection to the subway. Personally speaking, I would have really liked it if they added some kind of airport train because it makes it a lot more unique. But I'm treating it a bit too harshly. This is not a subway simulator like OpenBVE or Train Sim World. This is a free-roam GTA game, and so the subway is extremely impressive considering the game's purpose. Let's check out the system.
I need money, not food, money!
An interesting thing of note on why the game is so detailed when it comes to New York City is that Rockstar has been located in New York City since 1998. Coming up to the vestibule, we see the classic New York City turnstile, but with a different door, instead of the typical 3-arm variant that New York City uses. The trains are tagged up, as if it was New York City in the 80s, which is a really interesting touch. And then of course you have Rockstar's comedy kicking in, with garbage all over the train. The above-ground Harlem lines are pretty accurate to its real-life counterpart, and the surrounding buildings and their height and style really make you feel like you're actually in Harlem. And as you enter the tunnel, you can see that the tunnels take on the appearance of a cut-and-cover style tunnel, with a rectangular cavity, very accurate to how a lot of the New York City subway was built. Over here we see some interlockings and interlining, which is a very common feature in the New York City subway, a lot more common than in many other cities across the world. By the way, I don't literally mean physical interlockings, but on how many of the lines are shared. And over here we are entering the North Park station at a blistering pace. This station kind of reminds me of a mixture between 168th Street in Washington Heights and Chambers Street. Let me know if you agree. I think that's a pretty interesting comparison, but it seems about right. How about we look around and just soak up the atmosphere a bit, get a little feel for the area.
Attention passengers, you can make this system better by giving super thanks, going to Discord, liking, subscribing, and commenting. He reads all the comments. Thank you, and have a safe trip.
There are ads above the trains in the open shaft, which is something that you typically don't see. And the tiling reminds me of the 7th Avenue stations in New York City, so it's kind of a mix of all, but it's really interesting and cool to see how Rockstar uses their creativity to make the game space work. Up here, we see the vestibule, and unfortunately Rockstar missed out on the chance of having like fare evaders spawn everywhere and jump over the gates, but nonetheless it's still a well done area and I like the view from the gate. This station is in what could be considered a pretty prominent area, in the real-life counterpart of the Upper East Side. What? Now, the conventional station exit is a very accurate replica of its real-life counterparts in New York City. And as you see, it has the ads and the stairs and the tile work, all done immaculately. I also like the touch of the rafters and lights. That really adds the New York touch. Exiting, the exit does have that IRT-BMT-IND fence look with a lamp on top, which is extremely accurate and basically one-to-one. The Rockstar devs at New York of course did a great job because that's where they live. Anyways, now we're looking onto Central Park, which is of course the biggest park in New York City and one of the most filmed places on Earth. As we go back down to the train, let's discuss more about the actual train itself. The wagons in GTA 4 are based off of an NYCT R38 subway car, built by the St. Louis Car Company. Built from 1966 to 1967, in St. Louis of course, over 200 units were built. What makes this extra cool is the fact that right as the game was released, the NYCT was scrapping the R38s and taking them out of service. So this game was released just as you weren't able to experience the R38s in real life. So it does make this game historical in a sense. Up ahead, you can also see that you can acquire a first aid kit from the station. You can also get a pump shotgun, but we don't talk about that. Anyways, around the station, you do have some trash littered, of course for comedic effect, and you have quite a lot of business people, this being the Upper East Side, also near Midtown where a lot of prominent business people commute. And there's also a guy walking on the tracks. Oh, I think he got hit. Okay, that was not good. That doesn't happen every day. It's pretty nice here in Liberty City. Oh, look at me jumping for excitement, ready to get into the car. This is how I always feel. Sorry, sir. Oop. And I could only imagine what this car smells like. And it looks like I'm wanted for bumping into that guy, but it looks like we're making a swift escape on the subway. And whoa, there's the guy on the tracks right there. Anyways, hopefully there's not a situation where I get attacked by homeless people like what happened in Los Santos. A detail I did notice while editing this video is that there are no third rails or wire systems to power the trains. The trains just seem to be battery operated or magically running using magic carpets or something like that. But nonetheless, it's a very, very picky idea, very picky observation by me. But anyways, going into the East Park Station, a lot of the stations in this Manhattan area are of the same design. So that 125th Street / Frankfort High Station was a monument station that they specially modeled, but it's still amazing to see. There's so much to cover but so little time, but I tried to get every important thing I could in this short time frame. But anyways, if you do like the video, make sure to comment, because I read all of your comments, and I mean that. And I'm the Transit Diaries, and as always, stay tuned for more.